Welcome to the second part of physics chapter laws of motion. So in the first part we studied about force. What is force and what are the effects of force and what are the types of force. I just want you to do a quick revision with me about force. So force is a push or a pull. Okay, it is a vector quantity. Force is a vector quantity. That means it has magnitude as well as direction. Force has magnitude as well as direction. It is a vector quantity. Okay, so generally if you want to express force, if you want to signify, or if you want to represent force, force is represented with F with an arrow above it. That means it is a vector quantity. It has magnitude as well as direction. Okay, the SI unit is of force is Newton. Okay, SI unit is Newton, named after the, you can say, the scientist which laid the foundation of the whole concept of mechanics and dynamics. Newton, Isaac Newton, Sir Isaac Newton. Okay, its CGS unit is dyne. Now, what is the relationship between Newton and dyne? 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to 5 dyne. Okay, there are some more units also of force. There is one gravitational unit. Gravitational unit of force. It is kgf, kilogram force. Kilogram force. Okay, and 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 Newton. 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 Newton. We are going to learn a little bit more about gravitational unit ahead, not right now. Okay. Uh, you might have this question in your mind. Okay, all these information about force which we have already understood now, right? Force is required to produce acceleration in a body. Uh, Force has many types. Force has many effects. There are contact forces, non-contact forces. In contact forces, there is spring force, there is tension, force of tension. In non-contact forces, there is gravitational force, electrostatic force, magnetic force. In contact force, I forgot collision, force due to collision, right? All these we study. But how do we calculate force? What is the formula for force? That we have not studied yet till now. We have studied the first law of motion also, Newton's first law of motion. It is essentially about inertia of a body, which relates with the mass of a body. A body at rest will remain at rest. A body in motion will continue to be in motion in a straight line with constant velocity until and unless an external force is exerted on it. So force is included in first law of motion, that is the law of inertia, but it is essentially about the inherent property of the body, which is the inertia, which is due to its mass. But still, we have not understood how to calculate force. And in the second part of this chapter, that is focused on the Newton's second law of motion, we are going to derive a formula for force. That's exciting, right? Let's go there. Let's start with it. I've given you a quick recap of what we have done in the first video. Now let's start with the second one. Applications of Newton's first law. Let's start with this now. A body is said to be in translational equilibrium when it is at rest or when it is moving with constant velocity. We always understand that a state of equilibrium means that a body must be at rest, but that is a misconcept. The real concept is a body can be in equilibrium if its acceleration is zero. That means a moving body can also be in equilibrium if its velocity is constant. That means acceleration is zero, and a body at rest can also be in equilibrium because essentially its velocity is zero and acceleration is also zero. So equilibrium means acceleration must be zero, right? A body is in translational equilibrium when it is at rest or it is moving with a constant velocity, right? So from Newton's first law of motion, a body is in equilibrium when the forces acting on the body are balanced. In other words, the resultant force acting on the body is zero. We studied about resultant force in the first lecture of this chapter, right? So when the resultant force is zero, when the forces acting on a body are perfectly balanced, the body is said to be in equilibrium. Then it does not matter whether body is moving or at rest. Even if it is moving, then it will be moving with zero acceleration, constant velocity. Still, the body is said to be in equilibrium. Now, Newton proposed physical quantity called momentum to explain the effects of force quantitatively. Quantitatively means how to calculate the amount of force which is acting on a body, how to calculate the force which we are applying on a body. To understand, the quantity of force, to understand the quantitative meaning of force, to understand how to calculate force, we must understand the concept of momentum. Okay, this momentum is also known as linear momentum. Let's understand what is linear momentum. So suppose there is a car and a loaded truck. They are moving on a straight leveled road with a speed of 0.1 meter per second, very less speed, but still they are moving. We have to stop the car and the loaded truck. For a moment, just imagine you are a Bahubali and you have to stop this moving car and loaded truck in a given time. In which case a greater force is required? Okay, just imagine it's not a car, it's a bicycle. A bicycle and a loaded truck both are moving on a same straight leveled road next to each other with the same speed 0.1 meter per second. You have to stop both of them one by one. Okay, for stopping which of the body, a bicycle or a loaded truck, both moving with the same speed, a more greater force is required. The obvious answer, as is in the case of loaded truck, more force will be required because mass of loaded truck is higher. Therefore, to stop it, more force will be required, right? In other situation, let's take one more example. Another situation, there are two identical cars. In the place of car, you can imagine a bicycle, no problem. One body is moving with a speed of 0.1 meter per second and other body is moving at 0.25 meter per second. Again, we have to stop both these bodies in a given time. In which case greater force is required? Definitely in stopping the body which is moving with greater velocity, right? Greater force is required. Why? Because it has high velocity. Because it has high velocity, greater force will be required to stop it. So in both the cases, if you combine them, if you compare and combine both the cases, what do you understand? You understand that a greater force is required to stop a body which has greater mass and greater velocity. A greater force is required to stop a body which has greater mass and greater velocity. Think of another situation. So there is an accident involving a truck, a loaded truck moving at a very high velocity, and another accident separate incident, completely separate, but that's also an accident, where a bicycle moving with a less speed, okay, which will create more damage. A loaded truck moving with high velocity or a bicycle moving with less velocity? Definitely the loaded truck moving with high velocity. It will create greater damage due to the greater force which is exerted by the truck on any body which it collides with. Bicycle collides with some other body, right? It will not create a greater damage. Yes, it is an accident, but it will not create much damage. But a loaded truck moving with high velocity will create a huge damage. So what are we understanding over here? We are actually trying to understand the amount of force which is exerted by different bodies in different cases, on the basis of the masses of the bodies and the velocities of the bodies. So two factors which are very important in understanding the quantity of motion, actually the quantity of force which causes the motion. These two quantities are mass and velocities, which define the quantity of force. Okay, so we know now that this quantity, which will help us to get the formula for force, it depends on mass and velocity, and the name given to this quantity is linear momentum. Linear momentum is a measurable quantity which will help us to find the quantitative value of force. And this measurable quantity, linear momentum, depends directly on mass and velocity of any body. So linear momentum's definition is the quantity of motion contained in a body. Linear momentum is defined as the quantity of motion contained in the body. Quantitatively, linear momentum is the product of mass and velocity of a body. So if in exam they ask you to define linear momentum, you will write the second definition, that is quantitative definition, which says that linear momentum is the product of mass and velocity of any body. So linear momentum's symbol is P, and P is equal to m into V, where m and V are the mass and velocity of the body. So linear momentum P is a product of mass and velocity. The SI unit of mass is kilogram, and the SI unit of velocity is meter per second. So the SI unit of linear momentum is kg meter per second, kilogram meter per second. Okay. Linear momentum has a sense of direction. So it is a vector quantity. It is not a scalar. Therefore, it is a vector quantity, and the direction of linear momentum at any instant of any body is same as that of the velocity of that body at that instance. Right? Here there is one small diagram. Let's have a look. What does it say? The direction of momentum is same as that of the velocity, and it is tangential to the path at the point of consideration. So suppose body is moving in this curved path, but the direction of this body at this point, the direction of velocity of the body at this point is tangential to this curved path, that is in this path. So velocity and linear momentum of the body moving on a curved path is always directed tangential to the curved path. Okay, and velocity and linear momentum will always have a same direction. For a body moving in a curved path, the direction of velocity at a point is tangent drawn to the tangent drawn at that path. Tangent, do you know what is a tangent? So suppose this is a curve and I take any point on this curve, then a line which is just touching this curve at single point, okay, is known as the tangent. It is known as tangent. So the direction of linear momentum as well as velocity is tangential at any point on the curve path. Newton's second law of motion. Now, because we know what is linear momentum and we know how does it depend on mass and velocity of a body, now we can connect the concept of linear momentum with the concept of force. Be very careful in this particular thing. We are just going to get into the second law of motion, and you must be very, very attentive in this part. So to understand the second law of motion uh, very nicely, okay, just see. What amount of force should be applied on a body to produce a desired effect? That's a very fundamental question. Suppose I want to move a body. What force must be applied on it? More force, less force, how much force? Does this force depend on the mass of the body? Or does it depend on the acceleration produced in the body? Or does it depend on both? We will get the answer of these critical questions in this discussion. Suppose there are two identical blocks, A and B. We have two blocks, A and B. They both are at rest. Okay, look at this figure. There are two identical blocks, A and B, both are at rest. You are asked to bring block A to velocity of 0.25 meter per second in 5 seconds. So initially, block A is at rest. Let me write the quantities associated with block A. Initial velocity 0 meter per second. I want the final velocity to be 0.25 meter per second, and this should happen in a time interval of 5 seconds. This is what is required. Okay. While your friend has been asked to bring block B to a velocity of 2 meter per second. So block B also has initial velocity of 0 meter per second. Okay. Final velocity which has to be brought, which has to be given to block B is 2 meter per second. And that also should happen in 5 seconds. So you are handling block A, your friend is handling block B, and both have been given different tasks. Okay, now both of you will have to exert a force on the block to make them acquire this required velocity. If block A must acquire a velocity of 0.25 meter per second, from 0 meter per second, that is a state of rest, in 5 seconds, then a force must be applied on it by you, and your friend also must apply a force on the block to make it move at a velocity of 2 meter per second in 5 seconds starting from rest. Which of you or your friend, which of you will have to apply a greater force? See, if I'm talking about you have to produce an acceleration of v minus u upon t, that is 0.05 meter per second, 0.05 meter per second square in block A, while your friend has to produce an acceleration of 2 minus 0 upon 5, that is v minus u upon t. You see this, v minus 0 upon t, v minus u upon t, that is 0.4 meter per second square. And from this discussion, we conclude that whichever block has to be given greater acceleration, on that block we have to apply more force. जिसको ज्यादा acceleration देना है उस पे ज्यादा force exert करना पड़ेगा. सही है ना? जिस जिसको ज्यादा acceleration हमें provide करना है उस पे हमें ज्यादा force exert करना पड़ेगा. तो कौन ज्यादा force exert करेगा? F1 ज्यादा फोर्स होगा या F2? तुम ज्यादा फोर्स एक्सर्ट करोगे या तुम्हारा फ्रेंड? Of course F2 will be greater. Of course your friend has to exert a greater force because he has been given a task to provide greater acceleration to block B. So definitely जिसको ज्यादा एक्सेलरेशन देना है वही ज्यादा फोर्स एक्सर्ट करेगा. तो ये डिस्कशन से एक बात तो क्लियर हो जाती है कि फोर्स इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द एक्सेलरेशन व्हिच हैज टू बी produced in a given body. Whichever body has to be given a greater acceleration has to be given a greater force. दूसरी एक एक्टिविटी देखते हैं. दूसरी एक्टिविटी में there are two blocks of mass small m and capital M being greater than small m, of course. यहाँ पे दिख रहा है तुम्हें स्मॉल एम, यहाँ पे दिख रहा है तुम्हें कैपिटल एम, ठीक है। You and your friend are asked to produce an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in both the blocks. Now you are pushing a block of mass small m, your friend is pushing a block of mass capital M, and this time also you will have to apply less force, because if you apply less force, your small block will easily acquire an acceleration of 1 meter per second square. But your friend will have to apply a greater force. So greater mass requires greater force to produce the same amount of acceleration in it. So this activity shows that force is also directly proportional to mass. You have to neglect frictional forces here, because frictional forces are same in both the cases, because you can say both the bodies are on the same surface. But yes, frictional force also depends on the mass, so neglect frictional force for any complications. Okay, what we have understood is in both the bodies, to produce same amount of acceleration, the bodies which has greater mass require greater force. So force is directly proportional to mass. Now I want you to combine this relation with this relation. Combine them. What do you get? That force is directly proportional to the product of mass and acceleration. Force is directly proportional to mass and acceleration, both. That means force, if I uh, if I remove, remember this, if I remove this proportionality sign and convert it into equality sign, I have to add a constant of proportionality. That is what this K is. And the value of K for SI and CGS system is nothing but 1. So force is equal to K times mass into acceleration, which where K is 1. So force is nothing but mass into acceleration. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a formula for force. What is force? Force is mass of a body multiplied by the acceleration produced in the body. Force is a quantitative, force's quantitative value has been now identified as equal to mass multiplied by acceleration. Force is a product of mass and acceleration. Newton, after number of experiments, reached the above conclusion, which is known as Newton's second law of motion. So these kind of small experiments Newton did in his laboratory, and he reached at this conclusion that force, because it does not depend on anything else except mass and acceleration, is a product of mass and acceleration. Simply. Now we will derive Newton's second law of motion on the basis of momentum, the idea of momentum. Okay, before that, just understand this thing. The direction of acceleration is same as that of the force. So in this formula, acceleration and force will have the same direction. Mass into acceleration is not force in itself. The sum of all the forces acting on a body equals to mass into acceleration. Right? So it's not necessary that there are multiple forces acting on a body and you take the mass and acceleration, and you multiply mass and acceleration, you get the value of one force. No, no, no. You get the value of the resultant force. Okay, so mass into acceleration is not only single force, it is actually equal to the resultant force. Okay, now, okay, just before we go ahead, learning plus का मतलब है कि they are giving you some extra information, and I think this is fantastic piece of information which they have given over here. Newton is called the greatest of the great scientists, greater than Einstein, I believe. His contribution to physics was not only in the branch of mechanics, but also in optics, in heat, in thermodynamics, and in waves. You will understand all these terms very nicely if you take science in class 11th and 12th. Newton was also a mathematician. He started a new branch of mathematics called calculus. So just He did not just did some research on force and mechanics and all, but he also did research in optics, heat, thermodynamics, wave, simple harmonic motion, calculus. So Newton was a, you can say he was a genius of another kind. And on the foundation created by Newton, we are studying this subject called physics. Everything in physics mostly is one way or other way related with Newton's discoveries and Newton's experiments in Newton's foundation. So let's start with Newton's second law of motion and let's understand it now in its raw terms or original terms, that is in terms of linear momentum. So according to Newton's law of motion, second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum, remember this, the rate of change of momentum of a body with respect to time is directly proportional to the net external force acting on the body and takes place in the direction of force. Very complicated, right? But we'll make it simple. We will make it simple. Okay. See, what we have understood from our experiments is force is directly proportional to mass, and force is directly proportional to acceleration. Correct? So, if we combine, we can write this force is directly proportional to mass into acceleration. And we can further simplify it as force is directly proportional to mass multiplied by V minus U upon T. So force is directly proportional to m bracket v minus u the whole upon t. Acceleration's formula you must all know now. So force is directly proportional to mv minus mu upon t. What is mv minus mu upon t? So force is directly proportional to mass into velocity is linear momentum. But what is v? V is final velocity. What is u? U is also velocity, but it is initial velocity. So mass into final velocity is nothing but final momentum of a body after applying force on it. And mass multiplied by u, initial velocity, is initial momentum. Initial momentum. The momentum of a body before we applied force on it. Okay, so mv minus mu is final momentum pf, final momentum, minus initial momentum pi upon time. ठीक है, so pf and pn means final momentum and initial momentum. इतना तो समझ में आया होगा तुमको. अच्छा, अब देखो, so force is directly proportional to delta p upon t. What is delta p? What is delta p? Delta p means change of momentum. What does delta p means? Delta means change. ट्राइंगल का मतलब होता है डेल्टा, डेल्टा बोलते हैं उसको, और डेल्टा मीन्स चेंज. फाइनल मोमेंटम माइनस इनिशियल मोमेंटम इज व्हाट? इट इज नथिंग बट चेंज इन मोमेंटम. ठीक है, so force is directly proportional to change in momentum upon time. So what is that? That is, force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. Change in momentum upon time is rate of change of momentum. Rate of change का मतलब क्या होता है? Change per unit time. Rate of change मतलब, rate of change मतलब, इसका मतलब मैं यहां पे लिखता हूं, change per unit time. That is rate of change. That is the meaning of rate of change. तो हमने, तुम्हें समझ में आया हमने क्या किया? We have just derived Newton's second law of motion's statement on the basis of our experiment, which proved that force is directly proportional to mass and acceleration. So force was directly proportional to mass and to acceleration. So force was directly proportional to the product of mass and acceleration. We put the value of acceleration over here, then we multiplied mass with the velocities, final and initial. So we got mv minus mu, which was final momentum minus initial momentum, which is nothing but the change in momentum upon time, which is nothing but the rate of change of momentum. And that is what Newton's second law states. What is the statement of Newton's second law? Newton's second law of motion states that the force exerted on any body is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum produced in that body produced in that body. Newton's second law of motion states that the force exerted on any body is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum produced in that body, and it takes place, that rate of change of momentum takes place in the direction of applied force. That is what the Newton's second law of motion states, and that we have understood from our experiments, and we have derived Newton's second law of motion from our experiment. And we can do the reverse also. Okay? That this thing which I'm going to show you now is explained in many textbooks. So what they do is, in many of the textbooks, what they do is they derive the formula of force from Newton's second law of motion. So what does Newton's second law of motion states? It states that the force exerted on any body is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum, and this rate of change of momentum takes place in the direction of applied force. ठीक है, तो ये क्या था? This was the statement of Newton's second law of motion. ये स्टेटमेंट से मैं अभी फोर्स का फॉर्मूला डिराइव करूंगा. बहुत सारे हमने क्या किया, हमने पहले एक्सपेरिमेंट किया और फिर फोर्स का फॉर्मूला डिराइव किया. अब बहुत सारी टेक्स्ट बुक में यू विल सी दैट दे विल डायरेक्टली टेल यू कि भाई न्यूटन का सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन ये है कि फोर्स इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम, और उससे वो लोग फोर्स का फॉर्मूला डिराइव करते हैं. वो भी मैं तुम्हें बताता हूं कैसे करना है. सो फोर्स इज डायरेक्टली proportional to rate of change of momentum, that is delta p upon t. ठीक है, so force is directly proportional to, what is delta p? P final minus P initial upon time. So force is directly proportional to, what is final momentum? Mass into final velocity minus mass into initial velocity upon time. मास को कॉमन ले लेते हैं, v minus u upon t. So force is directly proportional to mass into acceleration. So force is equal to, मैंने तुम्हें बोला था जब भी तुम प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी की साइन को इक्वालिटी में कन्वर्ट करते हो, यू मस्ट ऐड कांस्टेंट ऑफ प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी, which is in this case is found experimentally to be 1. ठीक है, हम लोग k लिखते हैं, k into ma. ठीक है, since k is equal to 1 in SI and CGS units, therefore F is equal to m into a. क्या किया हमने? फोर्स का फॉर्मूला हमने निकाल लिया. किससे निकाला फोर्स का फॉर्मूला? हमने निकाला न्यूटन सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन के स्टेटमेंट से. सो दोनों तरीके से हम लोग कर सकते हैं. हम लोग फोर्स के फॉर्मूला से न्यूटन सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन को प्रूव कर सकते हैं एक्सपेरिमेंटली हमने फोर्स का फॉर्मूला ढूंढा, उससे न्यूटन सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन बनाया. और हम लोग उल्टा भी कर सकते हैं, हम लोग को अगर न्यूटन सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन दिया है, वी कैन डिराइव द फॉर्मूला ऑफ फोर्स। इसको प्लीज नोट कर लेना। और एग्जाम में अगर तुम्हें पूछे कि डिराइव द फॉर्मूला ऑफ फोर्स विच इज मास इनटू एक्सीलरेशन यूजिंग न्यूटन सेकेंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन, तो तुम्हें ये करना है, ठीक है। द अदरवाइज जो दूसरी चीज है वो तुम्हें पूछेंगे नहीं, वो हमारे अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए हमने किया है। तो अब तुम्हें समझ में आया कि जब भी किसी बॉडी पे फोर्स एक्सर्ट करते हैं ना हम लोग, तो क्या होता है, क्या होता है उस बॉडी में। राइट, so where was I just paused the video for a moment to see something and then I forgot what was I saying. It's okay. So yeah, force is equal to mass into acceleration. Yeah, I was saying that whenever we apply force on any body, what happens is कि उसकी वेलोसिटी में चेंज आता है, या द बॉडी अंडरगोज एक्सेलरेशन। और क्योंकि उसकी वेलोसिटी में चेंज आता है, तो उसके मास इनटू वेलोसिटी, मतलब द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ मास एंड वेलोसिटी, मतलब उसके मोमेंटम में भी चेंज आता है। और जिस डायरेक्शन में हम उस किसी बॉडी पे फोर्स एक्सर्ट करते हैं, उसी डायरेक्शन में उसका मोमेंटम भी चेंज होता है। So force is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum. This is the best, I think you can say, definition of force which anybody can give you. Newton has given us, जिसके ऊपर से हम force का formula derive कर पाए, right? तो this is all about you can say Newton's second law of motion, which I could explain you in easiest terms possible. ठीक है, अब हम आते हैं फोर्स के यूनिट्स के ऊपर। ठीक है, ये भी मैं तुम्हें अलग से बता देता हूं। देखो, फोर्स इज इक्वल टू मास इनटू एक्सेलरेशन। मास का ऐसा यूनिट क्या है, किलोग्राम, राइट। एक्सेलरेशन का ऐसा यूनिट क्या है, मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर। सो एसआई यूनिट ऑफ फोर्स क्या हो जाएगा, केजी मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर। रिमेंबर दिस, ठीक है। इसको ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं, केजी मीटर अपॉन सेकेंड स्क्वायर, या फिर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर, लाइक दिस। ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं, केजी मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर, ठीक है। लेकिन सबसे साइंटिफिकली साउंड जो उसका ऐसा यूनिट लिखने का तरीका है वो ये है। लेकिन हम ये यूनिट नहीं मेंशन करते हैं, ये हमारे रेफरेंस के लिए। हम कौन सा यूनिट लिखते हैं, हम लिखते हैं न्यूटन। केजी मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर की वैल्यू क्या है, न्यूटन, 1 न्यूटन। सो 1 न्यूटन is equal to 1 kg meter per second square. Hey, so we can define 1 Newton now. We can define 1 Newton now. What is 1 Newton? यहाँ पे दिया नहीं है वो लोग ने, मैं देता हूँ तुमको इंफॉर्मेशन, ठीक है। 1 Newton. What is 1 Newton? 1 Newton is the amount of force. 1 Newton is the amount of force exerted on a body of mass. प्लीज नोट करना ये सब। 1 न्यूटन इज द अमाउंट ऑफ फोर्स एक्सर्टेड ऑन अ बॉडी ऑफ मास 1 किलोग्राम। 1 न्यूटन इज द अमाउंट ऑफ फोर्स एक्सर्टेड ऑन अ बॉडी ऑफ मास 1 किलोग्राम which produces an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in it मतलब द बॉडी। मतलब कभी भी कोई 1 किलोग्राम के बॉडी के ऊपर अगर हमने 1 न्यूटन का फोर्स एक्सर्ट किया, तो उसमें कितना एक्सेलरेशन प्रोड्यूस होगा, 1 मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर का, ठीक है। सो दिस इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ 1 न्यूटन, ठीक है। सो 1 न्यूटन क्या है, एसआई यूनिट है, विच इज इक्वल टू, किसका ऐसा यूनिट है, फोर्स का। सो 1 न्यूटन इज इक्वल टू 1 केजी मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर, ठीक है। सो व्हाट इज द सीजीएस यूनिट ऑफ फोर्स। ठीक है, हम लोग पता लगा सकते हैं इसको। अच्छा, यहाँ पे केजी को ग्राम में कन्वर्ट करूंगा तो 1 से क्या मल्टीप्लाई हो जाएगा, 10⁻³ 1000 मल्टीप्लाई हो जाएगा। ये जो मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर है उसको मैं सेंटीमीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर में कन्वर्ट कर दूंगा, तो ये हो जाएगा, मतलब मीटर को सेंटीमीटर में कन्वर्ट करने करने के लिए 100 मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे, तो केजी हो गया ग्राम में कन्वर्ट और मीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर हो गया सेंटीमीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर। तो ये कितना हो जाएगा, 10⁵ ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर स्क्वायर। ठीक है, तो 1 न्यूटन इज ऑल्सो इक्वल टू 10⁵ ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर स्क्वायर विच इज नोन एज 10⁵ डाइन। ये उसका रिलेशनशिप। ठीक है, 1 न्यूटन इज इक्वल टू 10⁵ डाइन। ये ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर, ग्राम सेंटीमीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर, सॉरी मैंने गलत लिखा है यहाँ पे, ग्राम सेंटीमीटर पर सेकेंड स्क्वायर या फिर डाइन, ये क्या है, सीजीएस यूनिट। तो हम सीजीएस यूनिट में डाइन ही लिखते हैं। 1 न्यूटन इज 10⁵ डाइन। अच्छा, और एक मैंने बताया था, 1 न्यूटन इज इक्वल टू 0.98, I think yes, so the 0.9 f kgf, 98 kgf. What is kgf? Gravitational unit of force. या फिर we can say that 1 kgf is equal to 9.8 न्यूटन। ठीक है, ये भी याद रखना रिलेशनशिप। वैसे न्यूमेरिकल्स में इसका कोई ज्यादा यूज नहीं है, बट जब भी आएगा तुम्हें लर्न होना चाहिए। ठीक है, ये kgwt लिखा है, एक्चुअली ये kgf है, जनरली kgf यूज होता है। ठीक है, किलोग्राम फोर्स, किलोग्राम वेट यूज नहीं करते, जनरली किलोग्राम फोर्स यूज होता है। सो 1 kgf इज 9.8 न्यूटन एंड 1 gf, 1 gf, gf का मतलब सही मतलब समझ लो। ठीक है, gf का जो मतलब तुम्हें पता है वो फिजिक्स में एप्लीकेबल नहीं। gf का करेक्ट मतलब क्या है, ग्राम फोर्स, ग्राम फोर्स। एंड 1 gf इज इक्वल टू 980 डाइन। ठीक है, 1 kgf कितना होता है, 9.8 न्यूटन, और 1 gf कितना होता है, 980 डाइन। इसको भी लर्न कर लेना। ओके, सम एप्लीकेशंस ऑफ न्यूटन सेकंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन। बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट, बहुत 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 ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट, इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है ये कि इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आते ही आते हैं, आते ही आते हैं। ठीक है, तो ये रियल लाइफ एक्सपीरियंसेस है जो हम लोग सब करते हैं, और हमें पता नहीं है कि हम न्यूटन सेकंड लॉ ऑफ मोशन यूज कर रहे हैं, हमें पता ही नहीं है, तो पता लगाओ आप। ठीक है, सो हमें पता है कि फोर्स इज इक्वल टू द रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम, दैट इज मास इनटू एक्सेलरेशन। ठीक है, इसका क्या मतलब है कि फोर्स इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द टाइम फॉर विच इट इज अप्लाइड ऑन अ बॉडी। देखो ना, ये फोर्स इज इक्वल टू में जो टी है कहां पे, डिनोमिनेटर में, मतलब फोर्स इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू टाइम। मतलब रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम जितना ज्यादा होगा उतना फोर्स ज्यादा होगा। ठीक है, एक चीज मैं इसको अलग से समझाता हूं, फिर हम लोग आते हैं एग्जांपल्स के ऊपर। देखो, फोर्स इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ momentum. So force is directly proportional to change in momentum delta t upon time, right? That is rate of change of momentum। अब एक बात यहां पे ध्यान रखना कि ये फोर्स इस रेशियो से डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल है। ठीक है, इसका मतलब क्या है कि फोर्स इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द चेंज इन मोमेंटम एंड फोर्स इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू टाइम। इसको मैंने ब्रेकअप कर दिया, ये रेशियो को, ये पूरे इक्वेशन को, बेसिकली पूरे पूरे रिलेशन। इसका मतलब क्या है कि जितना चेंज इन मोमेंटम ज्यादा होगा, जितना चेंज इन मोमेंटम ज्यादा होगा उतना फोर्स भी ज्यादा होगा। अब चेंज इन मोमेंटम कैसे ज्यादा होगा, चेंज इन मोमेंटम ज्यादा होने का मतलब क्या है, चेंज इन मोमेंटम का मतलब है mv माइनस mu, फाइनल वेलोसिटी, फाइनल मोमेंटम माइनस इनिशियल मोमेंटम। हाउ कैन वी कीप दिस डिस्टेंस वेरी हाई, we can keep this difference very high by यू कैन से चेंजिंग द वेलोसिटी बाय अ ग्रेटर अमाउंट, क्योंकि मास तो चेंज नहीं हो सकता, ठीक है, मास तो हमेशा फिक्स रहेगा, बट अगर वेलोसिटी को हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा चेंज करें, ठीक है, तो चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम ज्यादा होगा, और चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम ज्यादा है इसका मतलब क्या है, फोर्स भी ज्यादा है, ठीक है। अच्छा, और एक चीज, फोर्स इज इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू टाइम, मतलब टाइम जितना हम कम रखेंगे, ये जो चेंज लाना है हमें मोमेंटम में, उसके लिए जितना कम टाइम लगेगा उतना फोर्स ज्यादा होगा, ठीक है। सो इसको बहुत ही अच्छे से समझ लेना जब मैं तुम्हें बताऊंगा इसके रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल्स। रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल्स में फोर्स कब ज्यादा होता है, जब टाइम कम होता है। फोर्स कम कब होता है, जब टाइम ज्यादा होता है। और रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल्स में फोर्स ज्यादा कब होता है, जब चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम ज्यादा होता है। और फोर्स कम 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 कब होता है, जब चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम कम रहता है। सो बेसिकली इन रियल लाइफ वी हैव टू सी दैट रेट ऑफ मोमेंटम ज्यादा मतलब फोर्स ज्यादा, रेट ऑफ मोमेंटम कम मतलब फोर्स कम, ठीक है। चलो इसको देखते हैं हम लोग कैसे समझना है, एक एक एग्जांपल को हम लोग पूरा डाइसेक्ट करके समझेंगे। पहला, अ क्रिकेट प्लेयर लोअर्स हिज हैंड्स व्हाइल कैचिंग अ बॉल। देखा है तुमने, ये देखो, ये कार्टून में ये यहाँ पे दिखा रहे हैं कि ये विकेट कीपर है, ठीक है, उसने बॉल को कैच किया और फिर अपने हाथ को पीछे कर लिया, विड्रॉ कर लिया। लोअर्स हिज हैंड और विड्रॉज हिज हैंड, हाथ को पीछे किया उसने, ठीक है। वीडियो दिखाऊं तुम्हें, वीडियो देख के ज्यादा समझ में आता है नहीं, चलो वीडियो देखते हैं। ओके catching a ball, uh, catching a ball in slow motion in cricket, catching a ball in cricket in slow motion, in स्लो मोशन, कैचिंग अ बॉल इन स्लो मोशन। लेट्स सी इससे क्या हमें समझ में आता है। ओके, आई थिंक मुझे बहुत एक अच्छा वीडियो मिला है, आई थिंक दिस वन, ग्लेन मैक्सवेल इज एन ऑस्ट्रेलियन क्रिकेटर। कैपुचिनो, चलो खत्म करो कैपुचिनो।
Welcome to Cricket Victoria's Coaching Clips. I'm Bushrangers Variety Cup coach Simon Helmont. Joining us today is Bushranger all-rounder Glenn Maxwell. Welcome, Maxie.
Thanks, Howard.
In this clip, we're focusing on high catching.
High catching can often be more difficult than flat catches, with quite often there being a greater amount of judgment involved.
See this?
Firstly, watching the ball closely is vital for the fielder as it assists
see
with
this?
tracking the ball.
Do you see that every time he is catching the ball, he is lowering his hand? Do you see that? See
and
again.
giving the player the best
इसमें नहीं
chance
किया
of
इतना।
taking the catch.
See this one?
If not already in position, it's very important
Okay,
the fielder
little bit
gets
of
to where
lowering.
they believe the ball will land as quickly as possible. Once in position, the fielder has two choices.
Okay, little bit of
Catching the
lowering,
ball above the
little
eyes
bit,
with fingers pointing
little
up
bit, no
and lower
lowering.
palms
Yeah,
or vertical
बिल्कुल
hands,
नहीं किया।
or
See
catching
this
the ball
one.
at eye
Yeah.
level or just below
See this one.
with fingers
Yes,
pointing out
and he's lowering
and
his
flat
hand.
palms, horizontal hands.
He's lowering his hands. Do you see that?
Creating a large target area by opening up the hands provides the fielder with a better opportunity
ये
of
देखो,
holding the
ये देखो।
chance.
See this,
We can see
he's
how Glenn
lowering his
catches the
hands.
ball with soft hands.
So I think we have got enough proof of why cricketers lower their hand while catching the ball. So what is happening? Textbook terminology में समझो. When a cricketer is lowering his hands while catching a ball, I'm sorry for that. Yes. By doing so, the player increases T. T matlab the time for which the ball is in contact with the hand while in motion. देखो बॉल जब यहां पे है ना, तब वो ऑलरेडी हाथ के साथ कांटेक्ट में आ चुका है, बट वो रुका नहीं है क्योंकि प्लेयर अपने हैंड्स को पीछे ले रहा है, विड्रॉ कर रहा है, तो बॉल को वो मोशन में रख रहा है. इससे क्या होता है? द टाइम इज इंक्रीजिंग फॉर विच द बॉल इज केप्ट इन मोशन बट विथ कंट्रोल ऑफ द हैंड्स. ठीक है. सो द टाइम इंटरवल फॉर द चेंज इन मोमेंटम इज इंक्रीजिंग. मतलब टाइम इंक्रीज होगा तो क्या होगा? फोर्स डिक्रीज होगा. So because of this, the force experienced by the hands of the cricketer is decreased. It is less and the cricketer won't get hurt. अगर तुम सिर्फ अपने हाथ रख दो बॉल के नीचे जो बहुत हाइट से गिर रहा है, the ball will like land on your hand flat. You will not withdraw your hand and you will get hurt because your hand will experience more force. So your hands will get hurt. ठीक है. So in order to get less hurt, in order for the ball to apply less force on your hand, what you will do is you will withdraw your hand, like how we saw in that video how that cricketer was withdrawing his hands in certain situations. See, because they are professional cricketers and they don't need to always withdraw their hands, and sometimes the catching is easier without withdrawing, but in order to get less hurt, in order for the force which is exerted on your hands by the ball to be less, it is always better to withdraw your hands. Okay? When you withdraw your hands, you are giving more time for the ball to come to rest. When you are giving more time for the ball to come to rest, you are decreasing the rate of change of momentum. You are increasing the time and you are decreasing the rate of change of momentum. Now the momentum of the ball is decreasing, but it is decreasing at a greater time. That means the rate of change of momentum, the rate of decrease of momentum is less. If the rate of decrease of momentum is less, the force exerted by the ball will be less on your hands. Why? Because the force is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum. अब समझ में आया तुम्हें कॉन्सेप्ट? ठीक है. अब सेकेंड एग्जांपल लेते हैं. व्हीकल्स आर फिटेड विथ शॉकर्स और स्प्रिंग्स. शॉकर्स क्या करते हैं? They increase the time of transmission of the force from the road, that is the jerks, the shocks from the road to the seat of the vehicle. Because of this, the less force is experienced by the passengers and the ride becomes comfortable. जितना स्मूथ ये स्प्रिंग्स, ये शॉकर्स रहेंगे, उतना कंफर्टेबल राइड रहेगा. ठीक है. So that's why the vehicles are fitted with suspensions, shockers, shock absorbers basically. Third example. If you have seen a karate player breaking a pile of bricks with a single blow, you must have observed that he does this activity quite fast. Okay, let's see the video. वीडियो में देखते हैं तभी समझ में आएगा हमको. पिक्चर देख के नहीं, हमको वीडियो से समझ में आएगा. Let's see it. Karate breaking bricks. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. Now this, yeah, this one is better. अगर तुम ये वीडियो को देखोगे, ध्यान से देखोगे, तो you will notice that this player is breaking these bricks by hitting the bricks very quickly. In a snap of a second, the bricks are hit with the hand. The karate player is not keeping his hand in contact with the bricks for a long period of time. Here the time interval for which the hand is in contact with the bricks is very, very tiny, very small. The hand is in contact with the bricks for a very small interval of time, for a very small amount of time. Okay? And because the time is less, the rate of change of momentum is very high. The momentum is changed in a very short period of time. So the rate of change of momentum is very high, and the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied, and hence the force is also very high, and this high force is able to break the bricks. So that is the whole idea. See the video. Bam. Okay, look at this. Did you see that? Did you see that? Just in a short interval of time, all the bricks are broken. So that is the case. क्रिकेटर वाला केस और ये वाला केस एक दूसरे के एब्सोल्युटली ऑपोजिट है, बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट. क्रिकेटर को ज्यादा टाइम चाहिए बॉल को रोकने के लिए, जबकि ये जो कराटे प्लेयर है उसको ब्रिक्स को तोड़ने के लिए वेरी शॉर्ट इंटरवल ऑफ टाइम का जरूरत है. तो रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम ज्यादा रहेगा और ये फोर्स से ब्रिक्स टूट जाएंगे. ठीक है. अब न्यूमेरिकल्स है. देखो न्यूमेरिकल्स बहुत सारे हैं, ये वीडियो मैं कवर नहीं कर पाऊंगा, सो आई एम गोइंग टू एंड दिस वीडियो ओवर हियर. This is all about the theoretical part of Newton's second law of motion, which was like extremely important. And I'm going to share this video right now with the group. I know that the last video was shared just like few hours ago, and I'm sharing this one because I want to maintain a continuity, and also students can watch these videos back to back, and because these are very interesting topics, so I don't want any breaks in between, right? So have a look, watch these videos, and then the next videos I'm going to do some numericals. And I hope you like this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please tell me. Please let me know about it. Comment in group, comment on YouTube, wherever. Please let me know about it. Okay. See you in the next video. Bye bye.